on set. Places, everybody. And action.
It's time once again for the Hooked on Movies podcast. Today, we're going back to college. Everyone's going back to school now, so we thought we'd take a look at some of those great movies from that back to school era. But we're not looking at back to school. We're looking at other movies. And we're going to kick it off with the 1978 comedy Animal House. And with me are Ken.
Poga.
And Ted.
They took the bar. The whole fucking bar.
And I'm Eric. And of course, Ted, my advice to you is to start drinking heavily, which apparently you already have been.
Yes.
Excellent. We are talking Animal House, one of America's favorite comedies. So let's see what's been going on with us here. Ken, how about you? How'd the week treat you?
Week was fine. Went out and bought some movies. Got myself a movie called Yes, Giorgio. And you're like, why would you get yourself Yes, Giorgio? In fact, you would probably ask, what is Yes, Giorgio?
It's a porn, isn't it? Yes, Giorgio. Yes, Giorgio.
Well, that's on line with this particular movie, I guess. No, it's a movie starring Pavarotti.
Oh, that's not a very good porn.
No, probably not. But it's for my dad. My dad used to have this movie, and he loses this movie ever so often. So I bought it for him again, and now I'm keeping it here. So if he wants to watch it, he's got to watch his Pavarotti porn at my house, I guess.
Yes, I'm familiar with the Pavarotti movie from knowing Ken's father.
And then a couple other movies that I bought. Silent Fall. That was one of the Richard Dreyfuss movies that I
that no one knows.
That no one knows, but it has a good cast. John Lithgow, Liv Tyler, Linda Hamilton. I definitely would recommend it. And then one of the great Rob Lowe movies of all time, Youngblood, with Patrick Swayze.
That's debatable.
It's a hockey movie.
I'm an about last night. So
I was looking for Oxford Blues, but I couldn't find it. I also watched the Steve McNair documentary on Netflix.
Oh, all right.
Not bad. I mean, it was enjoyable. And then when I was really getting into it, it ended.
Oh, kind of like his career.
And I was just like, huh? Right when they want to tell you the controversies of what happened to him, how he died and everything, all of a sudden it just ended.
It's on my list of ones to watch.
And I rewatched Frozen Empire, Ghostbusters this week.
My condolences. Okay.
Good movie.
Uh-huh. How about you, Teddles? What'd your week treat you like?
It was okay. Saturday I did have a kind of like a movie fest. Of course, I watched the movie we're discussing. I was kind of on an 80s kick, so I watched Caddyshack and I watched Teen Wolf. I watched another movie. I can't remember. Oh, Dirty
Teen
Dancing.
Wolf? You questioned my taste and you watched Teen Wolf?
Hey, at least you didn't watch Teen Wolf 2.
Yeah,
this is true.
I would watch Teen Wolf over one-on-one like a million times more. But
yeah,
anyway.
Teen Wolf is so much more believable.
It is.
The acting is so much better in that movie.
It is, actually.
Oh, gosh, it's so bad. Michael J. Fox can do better right now in his condition than he acted back in that movie.
Okay. Yeah.
Ooh, doggy.
I won't go that far. It's a guilty pleasure.
It's guilty something.
And I, on Netflix, watched the new Wyatt Earp Tombstone documentary. And I know we're going to be doing Tombstone here soon. It's very, very interesting. It's definitely worth everybody's time.
Sweet.
What about you, Eric?
Hey, man, I traveled this weekend out to Beantown, Boston, MA. Watched the Red Sox lose to the Diamondbacks in a very heated back-and-forth game. Beautiful stadium, Fenway, first time there. We got one more stadium to go. Seattle's the last trip, and then we've hit them all until Oakland leaves. So that's exciting. Went to the JFK Museum in Boston. Interesting, a little disappointing, but it's a presidential museum. If you're not into those, you're definitely not going to be into this one. And of course,
was Oliver Stone there?
Oliver Stone was not there.
That sucks.
I know. And of course, the wife was with me, so we went and saw some lighthouses on the coast, ate at a few great restaurants, so had some good food, some good clam chowder, and we went to Hyannisport.
Oh, okay, so you were with the
Kennedys. That's right. Yeah, and that place on a Saturday night is hopping.
Really?
Hopping. I mean, there is
interesting.
There is so many people walking around that place. It is crazy.
Very cool.
Cape Cod, the whole 9 yards. So it was a good time.
Some chowder.
Some good New England clam chowder. I was going to walk around the whole time being either like a JFK or a Mayor Quimby, So, yeah.
Talk to can't have it yet.
That's right. And I'll tell you, there was no shortage of those true Boston accents.
Oh, I'm sure.
No shortage.
It's like walking into being an extra in the movie The Town.
It's funny you say that because the person on the plane flying back was watching The Town.
No,
they were. I swear they were watching The Town, and they were like one row ahead of me. So I was kind of just looking at it. I'm like, oh, that's The Town. Oh yeah.
And did you not tap him on and go, "Are we going to rob the Cathedral of Boston?"
I did not, but he was watching The Town on his iPad. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
That's one of the great, great movies. I love that movie.
Fun weekend for me. So
awesome.
Then back to reality at work, as we all are. Let's talk about the first time we saw this movie. Do you have any recollection of the first time you saw it? Because I sure as hell don't.
The best that I can remember, I was no doubt way too young. St. Louis had an equivalent to Chicago's WGN.
Oh, it was edited?
It was called KPLR, Channel 11 out of St. Louis. And I watched it that way, but like I said, I was way too young.
But that was an edited version, too. It wasn't even worth your time.
And then I rented it probably 7th or 8th grade, which probably is still too young. I will say this. It distorted my vision of what my college career was going to be like.
I was way too young. I sneaked it in and out. So, like, it would come up on cable, and I would watch parts of it. But then as soon as Mom and Dad would come in or pass by, I had to flip the channel.
You put Yes, Giorgio on.
Yeah, Yes, Giorgio. Yeah.
What you watching there, Kenny? Oh, Yes, Giorgio.
Probably by the time I was 12, though, I probably had watched the full thing. But I just don't remember exactly when exactly.
This is one of those movies that's just in your vision. I cannot tell you the first time I saw it, but I can quote you every line.
Yeah,
it's like in life. It's just there. I'm guessing probably junior high for me, but I don't know. And of course, it had to be on videotape because no way in hell I'm going to the theater at 4 years old to watch it.
Yeah, I wasn't even born. So,
what qualifies you to review this movie today, Ken?
I went to a toga party once. I didn't wear a toga though.
That's very creepy.
I didn't wear a toga? Or did I went to a toga party?
A little bit of both. A little bit of both. Probably the less I know, the better. What about you, Ted?
I drank way too much in college.
I drink way too much now.
He's drinking at this moment.
Yeah, I am. I wish I was. And I eat too much too, apparently. So I'm a zit. Get it?
Bad and stupid is no way to go through life, Eric.
That boy is a P-I-G pig. That's right. So, if you are listening to this podcast, hopefully you've seen it, and we'd love to have you listen to some of our other podcasts. Of course, it's Hooked on Movies. We are on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, on Hooked on _movies, and we are, of course, on Facebook.
Just to let you know, if you go to our Facebook page, you get to find out things that maybe you never knew before. I did not know that a movie called Bedtime Story with David Niven and Marlon Brando was the original Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
Interesting.
And then Tim Curry's coming back to acting.
Thought he's dead.
He's going to be in a new horror movie.
Rocky Horror movie?
Not a Rocky Horror, a regular horror movie.
Isn't Tim Curry in a wheelchair?
Yes, he is.
Okay.
He had a stroke a number of years ago.
Yeah.
I think the movie's called Stream. I think he did a cameo in the TV Rocky Horror Picture Show, which I didn't even know there was one. But I guess outside of that, he's been only doing voice acting. So this will be his first movie screen role, I guess you can say. So that's some fun things you get to find out if you go to our Facebook page. And Justin, shout out to you for continuing to post things on our Facebook page. We appreciate it.
Yay, Justin.
Hey, Justin.
Maybe we'll have Justin as a guest contributor here on the podcast sometime in the future, if he would like to.
Yeah, once he gets out of pro, he's allowed a little screen time to, do the Facebook page. But outside of that,
All right, Ted, let's jump in. Tell us the particulars of Animal House.
Okay. National Lampoon's Animal House is directed by John Landis, with a screenplay by Harold Ramis, Douglas Kenney, and Chris Miller. It has a running time of 109 minutes, a release date of July 28, 1978. It had a budget of $3 million, a box office gross of $141.6 million. On Rotten Tomatoes, it has a certified fresh critic score of 91% and an audience score of 89%.
Nice numbers.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I would expect nothing less.
I would too.
And it has an IMDb rating of 7.4. Animal House stars the immortal John Belushi as Senator John Bluto Blutarski, Tim Matheson as Eric Otter Stratton, Thomas Holtz as Lawrence Pinto Kroger, Peter Reigert as Donald Boone Schoenstein, Stephen Furst as Kent Flounder Dorfman, Bruce McGill as Daniel D-Day Simpson Day, Karen Allen as Katie, James Widows as Robert Hoover, Douglas Kenney as Dwayne Storkman, Christian Miller as Curtis Wayne Hardbar Fuller, James Doughton as Gregory Marmalard, Mark Metcalf as Douglas C. Niedermeyer, Kevin Bacon as Chip. Thank you, sir. May I have another Diller? Mary Louise Weller as Mandy Pepperidge, Martha Smith as Barbara Sue Babs Jansen, John Vernon as Dean Vernon Warmer, Verna Bloom as Mrs. Marion Warmer, Donald Sutherland as Professor Dave Jennings, Cesare Danova as Mayor Carmine DePasto, Sarah Holcomb as Clarette DePasto, and Dwayne Jesse as Otis Day. Otis, he loves us.
My man. What a great cast.
It is
Probably half of them are dead, right?
It's an amazing cast.
Yeah, we're thinking about playing the game. Alive or dead?
I know a few of them are dead.
We just lost Donald Sutherland just a couple months ago.
Yes. So sad.
He said that he enjoyed working on this movie. He had so much fun doing it.
I think everybody had a lot of fun making this movie. From what I've heard, the Peruvian marching powder was flowing
yes
through this movie.
Oh my goodness, yes. Ken, we should call it Ken's Tidbits. Ken's Tidbits, starring Ken. Ken, so
what are your bits?
Ken, how did this movie come to be made?
It's very interesting how this movie became made. First of all, National Lampoon's great magazine, but they were getting kind of bored with doing the magazine, to be honest with you. They wanted to do a movie. In fact, they wanted to do a movie titled Laser Orgy Girls, which is a comedy about Charles Manson as a high school student.
Oh my goodness. Really?
Yes, that is so National Lampoon.
Wow.
I'm surprised PJ O'Rourke didn't have something to do with that.
Wow.
He is hilarious.
There's like a documentary out there just from a couple of years ago about National Lampoons. And they also have like a stupid gesture movie that's out there. That's not bad. I actually had Ted over watch it one day with me, and he actually thought it wasn't bad.
Yeah, it's actually about Douglas Kenney. Like most comedians, he's a tortured comedian, but extremely funny. And part of that whole crew that was part of the National Lampoon, Gilda Radner and, of course, John Belushi and Landis and the whole, Harold Ramis, everybody was part of the National Lampoon. Of course, Belushi...
You knew somebody that was...
Right, because like Belushi and Aykroyd and them, they did the National Lampoon's Radio Hour.
Bill Murray and his brother was in that as well. Yep. And Chevy Chase.
All were like offshoots of Second City, and well, what that became was the original cast of Saturday Night Live.
Yeah,
pretty much.
It's a fascinating story about the magazine. I checked that out, the documentary or the movie about Douglas Kenny. Yeah, he's one of the co-founders of the National Lampoon's magazine, which I guess used to be a Harvard magazine?
Yeah, it's Harvard. Yeah, it's out of Harvard.
It's Harvard.
Harvard.
People that became stars from this movie, how did they get their roles? Well, of course, John Belushi always was considered to be number one, but their backup, amazingly enough, was Meatloaf. Could you imagine Meatloaf?
Actually, I could.
Yeah.
From Rocky Horror, I could.
I totally see him more as D-Day.
I can see it, but it would not have been as iconic as a role of Belushi. No.
Absolutely.
Well, talking about D-Day, the original person for that was going to be Dan Aykroyd. But
yeah, I can see that.
I can see that, yeah.
Well, because Dan Aykroyd had a love of motorcycles.
Yeah, still does.
But I guess Lorne Michaels basically said that if you do it, you're going to be fired from Saturday Night Live.
Why?
You're already losing one person to a movie. You don't want to, and you just lost Chevy Chase to foul play. Do you really want to lose another person to the movies?
I mean, they didn't really lose Belushi. He was still on the show.
No, but that was a threat, though. Because you already had Chevy Chase bounce to go do movies. And in fact, Chevy Chase was considered to be one of the choices for Otter.
I could definitely see that.
Boone and Otter were originally going to be Bill Murray and Chevy Chase. But
so basically, it was just going to be Saturday Night
Live. An movie, yeah.
But Landis didn't want too many well-known actors in this movie. He wanted to go with a lot of unknowns. Also, Harold Ramis wrote the part of Boone for himself. But Landis said Ramis was a little too old for it. So they tried to offer Ramis another part in the movie, and he said, "Screw you! I'm not going to do anything if I'm not going to do that."
That's very
funny
Ramis.
Because Ramis was 32, but Peter Reggert was 29 when he did, so it's not like he was much younger. But some other things that were kind of interesting, John Belushi was actually kept away from the rest of the Delta cast.
Yeah.
He was with his wife, and they knew that he liked to partake of fun stuff, so they wanted him to be sober, so they kept him away from that kind of thing.
To do on its own right there.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Plus, he was still doing Saturday Night Live when this was going on, so he would have to fly back and forth from Oregon to New York 2 times a week.
Oh my goodness!
He had to be on the Peruvian marching powder.
Yeah, just exactly.
Just to exist.
Fun fact that I read was John Belushi, when he was in Oregon, was out at the nightclubs because he was interested in this musician named Curtis Salgado, I guess. And Salgado wore sunglasses. And he played the harp, and I guess he loved the blues. So guess where I'm going with all this, right?
Woo!
Of course,
so the Blues Brothers.
Yeah, inspiration for the Blues Brothers.
Interesting. Exactly. We know they had production problems just from the cast being, shit-faced on drugs.
Oh yeah, they were.
Yeah.
One of the biggest problems that they had was they were invited to a college party.
Oh, great!
And the kids at the college didn't particularly care for them. I mean, they were invited by some girls, and they all showed up, and they didn't take kindly for them to be there. And they beat the crap out of Matheson and the guy who played D-Day.
Oh, Bruce Miguel?
Yeah. They were trying to run away from them, but they kept on catching up to them. It took a while for them to get away.
A little Hitler Youth.
Hitler Youth, yeah. That's weird.
Yeah, but they had a lot of party. John Landis was kind of like it reminded me a little bit of George Martin and the Beatles. As soon as the big boss came in, everybody stopped doing the bad stuff that they were supposed to be doing.
The voice of reason, huh?
Well, they wanted to impress
Landis
him.
Was the voice of reason?
They wanted to impress Landis. They actually liked Landis a lot.
That's ironic.
In fact, Belushi's ex-wife said that Belushi adored Landis.
No kidding.
Well, yeah, they were all part of the same crew.
Well, it's fun that we're doing this movie because the last time we did a Landis movie, which wasn't too long ago, was Beverly Hills Cop 3.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't
not
know
his
how.
best.
Watching the documentary for this movie, I could see why Beverly Hills Cop 3 did not work. Because he's strictly comedy.
Yeah.
He knows
Yeah.
comedy.
But
He
it was
doesn't know action.
He was part.
comedy.
Well, action comedy.
Right. He's part of the National Lampoon
Yeah,
family.
comedy guy. Right.
He's National Lampoon adjacent. That's kind of like Ivan Reitman. He's National Lampoon adjacent. They're all part of that whole clique of immensely funny people.
He's a silly guy. I mean, Kentucky Fried Movie was the movie that got him this job.
Oh God, I love
Wright-
that movie so
Yeah.
much.
Ivan Reitman wanted to direct this so badly, but he didn't have enough chops yet. You know, he hadn't had any background yet, and Landis just had Kentucky Fried Movie, so they decided to give it to him. And of course, after this, Harold Ramis got his opportunity to direct Caddyshack after this.
Right.
So,
right. Yeah.
I mean, you got a lot of really
And
big
that's-
talent
And
here.
actually, Caddyshack was going to be titled National Lampoon's Caddyshack,
Right.
and they scrapped the National Lampoon off of it. I don't know exactly
Kenny
why.
wasn't he didn't like how it was turning out either. So
Well,
I don't
yeah,
think
and
he
he
cared.
wasn't a big fan of Chevy Chase either. So,
It was his best friend.
Doug Kenny.
Doug
No,
Kenny and Chevy
Belushi-
Chase were best friends. No. Not by my research. It's not.
Interesting.
In fact,
Well, let's give Chevy Chase a call right now. So
Yeah, right. We probably could get him.
probably good.
if he's not doing his Christmas vacation tour,
Nobody wants to talk to him.
Poor
Nobody
Chevy.
likes him. Well,
I'm Chevy Chase, and you're not.
yeah. This kind of sums up his entire career.
I know.
So that's some of the production notes I have with
Great.
Ken's tidbits. So if
Ken's
you want to go ahead,
tidbits.
you want to go ahead and start us off with the setup of this movie, go right for it, Eric.
Woo-hoo. All right, the setup. Here we go. In the fall of 1962, Faber College freshmen Larry Kroger and Kent Dorfman seek to pledge a fraternity. Finding themselves ostracized at the prestigious Omega House party, the two visit the Delta House next door. Kent cannot be rejected because his brother Fred Dorfman was a member, making him a legacy. During the party, they meet John Blutarski, Bluto, chapter president Robert Hoover, smooth-talking ladies' man Eric Stratton, and
Damn nice to meet you.
Damn nice to meet you. That's right. Motorcyclist Daniel Day Simpson and Donald Schoenstein, better known as Boone. And Boone's frustrated girlfriend, Katie. She was very frustrated, actually. Larry and Kent are accepted as Delta pledges and given fraternity names Pinto and Flounder.
Why
Why Flounder?
Why not?
Why not?
Yeah. Meanwhile, pledged Chip Diller is accepted into Omega House and given a paddling as part of his initiation. Go ahead, boys.
Thank you, sir.
May I have
May I have another?
That's right. One of the most famous lines of all time. Wanting to remove the Delta fraternity, which is on probation or double secret probation due to numerous conduct violations and overall poor academic standing. Dean Wormer directs Greg Marmalard, the Omega president, to get fellow Omega and fellow asshole or shitface or what is
Hitler
that?
Youth.
Hitler Youth, Cadet Commander Douglas C. Niedermeyer to find a reason to expel Delta House. There's
Shit like you.
That's right. He's a sneaky little shit like you. Now, I love the opening of this movie where
The
they're
opening to the movie is
where
awesome.
they're going and they're just always redirected to the one part of the house.
Right.
Oh, that's great. So
With
we've been a
Ahmed and-
blimp. Yes, Ahmed and
Yeah.
You know, it's very simple though at the start because they're just walking campus to get to where they need. I kind of like the music, the score.
yeah.
The guy who did the score only did like famous drama movies. He didn't do any comedy movies.
Elmer Bernstein. Yeah.
And he did it as a legitimate movie, like not a comedy movie. So I think it works very well. But the reason why I like it is it makes me think about the times when I was on college campuses, walking along and going to parties and things of that nature.
Did you have a little
just-
beanie on too?
Didn't have a beanie
Okay,
on.
no beanie.
I'm sure.
No,
bullshit.
you don't want to
you
get your
did.
ass kicked by wearing a beanie. Larry kind of even tells Kent to take that thing off
Yes, exactly.
because he knows that that's going to get your ass kicked. But yeah, it is funny. They walk in and they'll hit straight to the couch every single time. Do the same 4 people. You have the blind guy. You got one blind guy
in the wheelchair, the Muslim, the nerd. He's like, oh yes, we've met. Oh good, then you'll have lots to talk about.
Yeah.
Do
They're
you think
such
if Larry
dicks.
went in by himself, he would have been okay?
Well, he was a wimp.
He was a wimp, but when he first
no.
came in, they actually talked to him. They slammed the door in Kent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kent Dorfman. Yeah, it's good.
But it's great going from one extreme to the other. And you got Belushi, he's just sitting there, he's just taking a leak right off the bat.
He's taking a leak and then pisses on their shoes. I mean, it's a total 360 or 180, I should say. Just complete opposite chaos of the organized Omega House,
Yeah, it's organized chaos.
It's crazy. Anything goes. They don't care.
Right.
Yeah.
Fun thing is, though, Larry actually looks like he's really going to enjoy this.
Oh,
he comes right there. He's excited. So when we say wimp, I kind of don't really take him as much of a wimp. His character is inconsistent in that.
I'm just quoting Babs. So
the only time I think he looks like a wimp is when D-Day goes up the staircase in his motorcycle and he's like, what the fuck?
Right.
But Kent, he doesn't even want to be here. Neither one of them actually want to go to the Delta House because it's got that reputation, right?
Yeah, but he's a legacy, right?
He's a legacy.
He's a legacy.
Yeah, but what do they say about his brother?
A total zero.
Yeah.
Fred.
They're like,
My
usually
brother.
that's the case. You get in, if you're a legacy, unless you're a total zero.
Like Fred. My brother. Yes.
I love when they're doing the pictures on the screen and then
yes, they are.
and they all start throwing stuff at the screen.
We thought the stork had brain damage.
Still think he did.
There's so much because you get your first real good look at Otter and Boone.
Yes.
And you kind of get
they're known homosexuals.
Right.
She's just kidding, Larry. Have another drink. Yes. I mean, just... And then you see them up there like in towels and stuff. You're like,
Maybe they are, right?
It's a great setup.
They did this on purpose. They brought out every single type of character you can have.
They're the very sophisticated people of the Omega House.
But every person you knew a person just like that. You knew a Boone. You knew an Otter. Somebody that speaks very well. People want to be like him. And then you have the second in charge, who's not quite like that person. But if that person were to be assassinated, he would take over, I guess. But he basically is just there to support Otter, basically. And then you got Hoover, who basically he's the smart one. He's the intelligent one.
To keep the glue together.
Right.
He's just trying to negotiate with everyone just to keep it all together.
But he's still trying to have a good time. He still wants to have a good time.
They're all having fun,
And I mean, you have D-Day, who's the biker guy. You got the one girlfriend out of them all because you ever been in a group of guy friends and everybody is single except for that one guy who happens to have a girlfriend. So you have that one girl, and then in Larry Kent are very typical. You got the kind of a fat slob who tries to fit in but doesn't know why nobody accepts him.
Hey boys, playing cards. Yes.
And he just gets on your nerves,
right?
So. But yeah, I mean, and then of course you got Bluto, and you have that one guy that
doesn't give a shit
anything.
He will. Yeah.
He's awesome.
You had that one friend the one friend that most likely is going to go to jail.
Right.
Yeah.
Or become a senator.
Or become a U.S. senator.
Everybody knows a Bluto. All these characters are iconic in their own way. It's Animal House. These guys are awesome. These are the guys you want to hang out with.
Who do you relate to in the movie? I know who I relate to.
That's a good question.
Yeah. I can tell you, I relate to Hoover.
You're a Hoover. Okay.
I'm a Hoover.
As much as I want to be Bluto, I'm probably I was more closer to Boone than anybody else. Yeah.
I'm a combination of probably Boone and Larry. Probably.
Flounder.
So,
yeah, you're a flounder.
I don't think I'm a flounder.
Yeah, you're a flounder.
So you're the virgin who's screwing 13-year-olds?
I was gonna say without the 13-year-old situation. Yeah.
She wasn't 13. There's no way in hell she was 13.
These are the guys you want to hang out with. They're always having fun. They take nothing seriously.
But these are the guys you don't want to hang out with for long periods of time.
These are the
Right.
guys you wanted to hang out with in your 20s.
Right.
When you were...
This is the guys you want to hang out occasionally with. You don't want to be roomies with these guys because they'll bring you down. I mean, we look at someone like Larry, who probably was a very smart guy. I mean, they got into college, probably a respectable college.
Oh, yeah, they're all 0.0.
Zero.
Right. I think Larry had 2 C's, 2 D's, and an F.
You're the top of the pledge class. Congratulations. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So it's not people that you want to emulate, but it's people you want to have a little fun with. The funny thing is, if we looked at these guys in real life, we would say losers.
Yeah, because Blue has been in college for 7 years, right? 7 years of college down the drain.
Down the drain.
I was joining the fucking Peace Corps.
It's funny because if you were actually in college, the Omegas were probably people that you were like...
The party
house,
house, man. It's a party house.
Well,
Yeah.
the Omegas are the clean cut
I'm
guys.
sorry, Deltas. Deltas are the party house, yeah.
Yes, the Deltas are the party house. And you probably want to be more like that because they're going to be the ones most likely to get jobs, high-ranking places and stuff. Whereas...
Well, let's okay. So
in reality,
the Omega House is kind of like Skull and Bones. Okay,
Killed by your own men in Vietnam.
Yeah, I mean that's what they are. They're like the Skull and Bones from Yale. Okay, they're the secret fraternity that has that everybody's like smart and rich and
what is it?
always
The
connected.
Masons? The Masons?
Yeah.
well, that's why they have the paddle scene.
What's it in
with
The
Kevin.
Simpsons?
right.
The Stonecutters or something? What is it in The Simpsons?
Yeah, it's something like that.
Stonecutters,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, they have like the secret. They have the robes and everything.
Yes.
It's Skull and Bones is what it is. They're
But
totally
they're also the ones
lampooning.
that end up having the big government jobs and things of that nature. And these are the ones that end up in a supermarket, working forever as a bag boy.
Well, Marmalade does end up in the Nixon White House, but then
Raped
being
in jail.
in prison. Yeah.
And
of course,
Babs works at Disney World or something? Or she's a tour guide?
Universal Studios.
Universal Studios.
Yeah.
Yeah, as
Tour
a tour
guide.
guide. Make sure you say hi to Babs.
Babs, yes.
But of course, they're going to say that. They're going to, at the end of the movie, they're going to do things like that, where they're going to switch it and say the bad guys who drank all day long actually were successful, and the other ones who worked their tail off and actually studied, they were losers and ended up.
I actually know some people who
don't know where he is.
I actually know some people who drank a lot in college and are very successful.
There is those people, but in general,
I was
that's not
married
really-
to one,
Okay.
Alrighty then.
and she's very respectable now. So, just because you were a partier in college doesn't mean that you turned out to be a zero.
Oh, no. No.
But these guys are 4, 5, 6, 7 years partying, and
Well, yeah.
there's a difference between somebody who's there just to party and somebody who's there taking their school seriously. Remember that the highest grade point average, I think, was 1.8.
That was Hoover. Hoover was
And
the
that was
top.
Hoover, and he was the top.
Fine
You had-
example you set.
And you had D-Day, who didn't even have any classes. They were all incomplete.
Oh,
Was
incomplete.
do we know if D-Day was even enrolled at school there?
He may not have been. Who knows?
I don't
right?
think he.
Right.
I don't ever
He just
think
might
he
have
was.
showed up. But that's what I'm saying. I mean, you're taking a bunch of guys who don't care about school at all.
They're there
Well-
to piss everybody off.
I think Larry is there, and I think when his changes is probably later on when he finds out pot. I think once he gets on pot, I think that changes him.
He gets on pot.
He
How
gets
old
hooked
are
on
you
pot.
right now?
What do you mean?
You
Did you
sound
watch
like
this
an old-
movie?
You sound like an old man.
Think about it, though. He actually enjoys the classes.
when he smokes weed for the first
Oh,
time, or I don't think it's his first time, but
I think it's his first time. First of all, he's
Donald
a virgin.
Sutherland?
No, I'm talking about Larry.
Oh, Larry.
Who are
yeah.
you talking about?
I was talking about Boone.
Oh, no, it's not his first time.
No,
no.
not his first time. Oh, yeah, you know what? It might have been Boone's first time. Boone kind of...
No.
She questions him, and he's like, I've done a lot of things you don't know about.
Mm-hmm.
So she doesn't think he's even done pot before. Think
You
about
don't-
it. It's 1962. Not 1978. It's 1962. I just think he says that he's done it to impress, to not be that guy that didn't do it.
Potentially.
Because she calls him out on it.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So,
Just-
but Larry definitely, no doubt, Larry.
Yeah,
is,
no, he's a square.
Well, I wouldn't say complete square. He seems to.
No, he's a
know-
complete square.
No, he's a square.
He's a
Well,
square.
he knows not to wear a beanie to a friggin' party.
I
Yeah.
think that was he wanted to make a good impression on the Omega House,
And like I said, as soon as he walks into the Mega House, he wants to have some fun and have some beers and enjoy himself. I think he wants to let loose. I think Larry does.
Wants to screw a 13-year-old.
Well, he doesn't
He wants
know
to
that.
let loose.
That's a little bit later in this talk. But if you want to go straight into the build of this movie, why don't you go ahead and take us there?
What a great segue. Let's do that. Various incidents deepen the animosity between Delta, Omega, and Dean Wormer, including the accidental death of Niedermeyer's horse during prank. Holy shit! For bullying ROTC member Flounder. That is such a classic scene. Just blanks. Bluto and D-Day steal the answer key to an upcoming midterm exam from the trash, unaware that the Omegas have switched it for a fake one with wrong answers. The Deltas all fail, and their grade point averages drop so low that Wormer tells them he needs only one more incident to revoke their charter and have them permanently dismissed from campus. Unconcerned, the Deltas organize a toga party.
Toga.
Recruiting Pinto to shoplift party supplies from a supermarket. I think it's more like food, but okay.
It's meat.
It's meat, a lot of it. That's right.
What do they do with the meat? I mean, do they cook it out back? It's like they're throwing like porterhouses in there, and
yeah. So at the market, Pinto meets a young cashier named Clarette and invites her to the party, which she's been to many times, obviously. While Otto flirts with Wormer's alcoholic wife, Marion, during the toga party, at which Otis Day and the Knights perform.
Otis, he loves us.
Otter seduces Marion while Pinto and Clarette make out until she passes out drunk. Pinto resists the temptation to rape her, and instead takes her home in a shopping
that's
cart.
Kind of what happens.
Okay, yeah, I guess it is, yeah. For shame. He later discovers that she is the 13-year-old daughter of Carmine DePasto, the town mayor. Wormer organizes a kangaroo court led by the Omegas, which revokes the Delta's charter and confiscates the contents of their house. Otter, Boone, Pinto, Flounder take a road trip in
The
Flounder's
bar. They took the whole fucking bar.
Thanks. I needed that. In Flounder's brother's borrowed Lincoln Continental, they arrive at Emily Dickinson College, an all-girls institution where Otter poses as Frank, the fiancé of recently deceased student, to find dates for himself and the others. They stop at a Roadhouse bar where Otis Day and the Knights are performing, unaware that the clientele is exclusively black patrons. Oh, who writes this stuff? Some of the patrons intimidate the Deltas into abandoning their dates and fleeing. The next morning, Boone discovers Katie has spent the night with English professor Dave Jennings. Babs tells Marmalade that Mandy and Otter have been having an affair, but I love you. Marmalade has Babs lure Otter to a motel where the Omegas beat him up. Wow, that's a lot of information. Where do we start?
I think you start with the horse because
I think you do. Yes. Well, let's start before the horse. Let's start when the pledge pin incident with the ROTC and the boys hitting the little golf balls.
Oh yeah, that's.
I got to work.
I love
game. Yeah,
I love how they talk through that. You know,
Yes.
all they're doing is doing a golf lesson.
Yeah.
And the first ball goes into the cafeteria.
Right.
And it goes into whatever soup or whatever thing that they're making, and Bluto later on eats that golf ball.
Yes, he does. Yes. And then the other one hits Wormer's desk and hits his drink.
It's perfectly done too. It's just
it is.
Otter nails Niedermeyer's horse.
and then Niedermeyer in the head.
Yeah.
Got to
It's so
follow
funny.
through.
No, it's hilarious. Of course, Niedermeyer's giving Flounder a bunch of shit because
A pledge pin on your
your
uniform.
uniform.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tuck in those pajamas.
Tucking those pajamas, yep.
And
Yes.
of course, Niedermeyer's making Flounder clean out the horse's stable.
Push-ups into horseshit.
Well, Niedermeyer comes by and makes him do that, yeah.
Yes.
The look on Belushi's face when he's talking with Bruce McGill and he goes, "You put blanks in the gun, right?"
Yeah, he's like, just
Yeah.
blanks, right? Just
He's
blanks.
like, "Yeah." And then when
The
they
horse.
hear the horse,
Yeah. That freeze frame of the horse's head. Yes.
yeah, that's so funny. I love it.
Fun fact about that part, of course, was this was all done in the college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The actual dean of that college's office was used for that scene. So and they used a lot of the college, which usually you don't get that. You get sets and everything, but they needed to save money. And in order to do that, they used as much as the college as they could.
That is such an odd scene with the contractor coming in there measuring the horse's legs and seeing get through the door, and the man is just talking like that. It's
not even going on.
That horse here. He's more concerned.
That
about,
is a
Yeah.
Kentucky Fried Movie part.
Oh, yeah.
You can see that's John Landis. That's John Landis right there.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
For sure.
You're measuring it out, and he's measuring it wrong.
Or, yeah.
Like the door, he's
Mhm.
measuring one way, he's measuring the horse the other way.
Yeah.
And then a chainsaw. It's like, oh yes.
And of course, Niedermeyer, he's distraught, but he's in the cafeteria, and the cafeteria scene is probably maybe the most
One of the most
memorable
iconic,
scene.
yeah.
Food
Yeah.
fight, legendary,
Food
legendary.
Everything John Belushi does in that scene is improvised.
Ad libbed
There's-
entirely.
Oh, yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Landis just told the cameraman just
Just let
to
him go.
follow Belushi and let him do whatever. My son watched it for the first time with me over the weekend. He just couldn't believe what Belushi did with the sandwiches.
Oh yeah.
Sticking
Yeah.
it
Jell-O.
all in his mouth.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's an absolute genius. And his comedic timing is second to absolutely nobody. And we talked about, the cast and everything. This movie was Belushi's vehicle. This was designed to make Belushi into a massive star. I mean, he already was a huge star coming out of Saturday Night Live. It can be argued that exactly who was the biggest star that came out of that cast. This is Belushi at his most Belushi. This is Belushi before he started to have real problems.
He already had the problems here.
He had problems. Don't get me wrong. He had problems, but they were not nearly as bad as what they would be like on the set of The Blues Brothers.
I think he had the similar problems that he did later on. The difference was someone like Landis at the beginning was able to kind of control it. He put his wife and him up at another location, knowing that if Belushi was anywhere near drugs and alcohol, that he would just abuse it. So there was already a known factor there. And then when you got to the Blues Brothers, a little too late, and I still think Landis did a decent job on the Blues Brothers.
Oh, hell yeah. He's amazing.
But
that's the thing. You would never know that there was a problem.
But here's the thing. You got Landis and Belushi, they bring the same type of energy level. Like Landis, back then, especially during the Animal House, Kentucky Fried Movie, Blues Brothers, he is very energetic. So he matches Belushi. And that's why I think they work very well together, is because of the energy each one brings. When Belushi is at his best is with John Landis. His two best movies, of course, are this one and the Blues Brothers. But then if you see other movies like Neighbors, which I think is
I love
one of the worst.
Neighbors. No.
I think it's one of the worst movies I've ever seen, actually.
Oh, no. Neighbors?
Miscast.
Yes, now he
Sure.
is the straight man in that movie, clearly.
Yeah.
But
Right.
it's still, I still enjoy it. I didn't enjoy 1941.
1941, yeah.
Yeah.
It-
It's
Continental Divide.
I actually think that's a decent movie, though.
It's a movie, but he's a newspaper reporter for the Sun-Times. There is
Right.
no comedic attention in that at all.
Romantic. It's a romantic comedy.
It's definitely romantic, but it's not his cup of tea.
I think he's decent in that movie, but I think, like I said, I think where he shines the most is where he's got Landis on board with him. He lets Belushi be Belushi. He doesn't try to change him in any type of way.
Right.
He allows him to do his thing.
They weren't able to control him completely on this set, though.
You know, as far as I heard, he didn't partake of any alcohol and drugs that I'm aware of by what I read.
Really?
I find that very hard to believe.
That's not what I heard.
Yeah.
I heard that the Peruvian marching powder was flowing big time throughout this movie, and Belushi was a huge partaker in that. And this was the time where they started to have it brought in instead of having him go out to find it. All of a sudden now, like, the studio was like funding it.
I think the documentary says something differently, and maybe that's just to protect Belushi.
Could be.
I mean, it could be.
The documentary says that, you know, he was sober during the whole take because they needed him to be sober. If anybody needed to be sober, it's your star.
Well, sure. Sure.
Well, yeah. I mean, but this is
I don't know about that, but you know, hey,
you still might have done it. But I mean, you don't move somebody 5-10 miles away from everybody else just to let them do it anyway.
If they tried to keep him from it, but there was no way. At this point in time, he's beyond burning the candle at both ends. I mean, he's doing this, and he's doing Saturday Night Live. You talk about wanting to ruin your life. The Saturday Night Live today is crazy. But back then, it was beyond insanity. Like, if you weren't doing coke, you couldn't survive. Because they would, like, literally work, like, 48 hours straight.
If he was doing it, though, he wasn't doing it at parties because he didn't have time to do it at parties. We just said he had to go to New York twice a week. He got on a plane back and forth. He doesn't have time to do the party stuff. So he's probably doing it on the plane, probably doing it in New York.
Oh, I'm sure NBC at this point is chartering planes.
Oh, clearly. Oh, he's not flying commercial. Yeah.
No.
They're bringing him back and forth. What I'm saying is while he was on set, Landis had an eye on him. And I think Landis had an eye on him until
that's interesting too. But the
Blues Brothers. But then at that time, he had his partner in crime, Dan Aykroyd. And there's no way to get around when you have, because Dan Aykroyd was partaking pretty good back in that day as well.
Oh, huge. There was a reason that cast of Saturday Night Live ended when it did. Because they were all one step away from being all of them at the Betty Ford clinic.
I know the reason why Lorne Michaels probably wanted to have control of Dan Aykroyd, because you already have one star that's going back and forth, and
at this point in time,
burning himself out.
They all started to get worried about Belushi. I read the Saturday Night Live book.
Oh, you did? There's several of them, yeah.
Yeah, this was the official one. Yeah, the official one.
Yeah.
And at this point in time, this was when they started to get worried about Belushi. And that's one of the reasons that he allowed him to do this movie, was to get him away from Saturday Night Live in New York, because he was out of control.
Good reason why maybe not Dan Aykroyd didn't get to go, because if Aykroyd went with them, he would have brought the drugs with him.
They also needed Aykroyd at this time for Saturday Night Live was also the main writer of Saturday Night Live.
He was one of the best writers.
There was no way that Aykroyd could have done what was needed to be done on the set of this movie. You talk about the hours that these guys would work for Saturday Night Live. Lorne Michaels, he's a crazy man, and he pushed, and they all burnt themselves to the absolute nub. And it's funny that Chevy Chase got out when he did, because Chevy was another one that everybody was worried about.
Right.
And he was there for one season.
With Chevy and we were talking about Doug Kenny, they would partake with each other a lot of drugs.
Yes.
And they would feed off of each other, and that's why I was saying that's why I believe Chevy Chase was Kenny's best friend at the time, was because of their drug use together.
And that did nothing for Doug Kenny's mental problems that he
No,
had.
in fact, that Kenny dying, I think it was a
suicide.
Well, yeah, well, either suicide or it was just he was so messed up that he just fell. Either one. I mean, drugs took him there. So
Most likely, it was a suicide.
most likely,
Yeah.
No, but I will say this though, that happening to Kenny got Chevy Chase, I think, straight and narrowed, and I think what happened to Belushi got Aykroyd straight and narrowed. Straight and narrowed.
A little bit. Aykroyd still, he went heavy after Belushi died. I think you're right though with Chevy Chase when Kenny passed away, and then what happened with Belushi, Chevy just kind of got a little bit freaked out.
But he's comic gold here in the scene.
He is.
At the cafeteria. He's the one that yells out "food fight." That actually happened at a diner that they were at before. When they all went out to eat, he yelled out "food fight," and that's how it got into the movie.
I mean, he was notorious for doing that. The whole thing is an ultimate Belushi. He sets everything up. He gets everybody mad at each other. Yells "food fight," and then sneaks out and comes away unscathed. That was vintage Belushi. That was Belushi in real life.
The part where he's eating the Jell-O and he does the "Guess What I Am Now." That all was improvised. They didn't know he was going to do the zip thing and
awesome.
Spit out all. That's all legitimate. First time reaction to all of that happening.
And that's why it's funny, because they didn't know. You got to witness in that whole scene real life John Belushi. I mean, he's not acting. There's a reason why he's my favorite, not only in this movie, he's one of my favorite of all time. That's why I can never get over the death of Chris Farley.
Well, I don't know, but Chris Farley was no John Belushi.
He was not, but he patterned his life after him.
Well,
and
that's what you get.
Chris Farley was very, very funny.
He was not John Belushi. He tried to be John Belushi. He was okay.
He was close.
No, he was not. Mm-mm.
I don't think it was close either.
Nope.
I disagree. But
he was good. Don't get me wrong, but he was not.
They had the perfect writers for Farley and Sandler.
Well,
and those guys.
Writers will make the show, just like directors will make a movie.
Yeah, look at Weekend Update with Norm Macdonald. I can't remember who the writer was with him, but Lorne tried to fire the writer, and Norm said he was going to leave if Lorne fired the writer. God,
yeah, but then he ended up firing Norm Macdonald. Didn't matter.
But they hired him back immediately.
And then they fired him again.
Again.
So.
Because you know why?
Yeah, because of OJ.
Simpson jokes.
Yeah.
Because he kept making fun of OJ, and
Which
OJ was a friend of Lorne Michaels. He had lampoon him every weekend on Weekend Update. Those are some of the best Weekend Updates, but
I don't know. I was never a Norm. I think Norm was a great writer, but we're getting off topic because Norm had nothing to do with Animal House.
No, he does not.
But the one part that I don't particularly care for, as I gotten older, when I was younger, I enjoyed the scene where he goes to the sorority house and peeps through the window. I enjoyed that as a kid.
Well, sure.
It's classic.
We all did.
But how can nobody notice that he's at the window at all? And you could hear
him moving the ladder. Boom.
Right. Moving the ladder. It's
boom,
not
boom.
even slightly. It's loud.
Which is the funny part of it.
Right.
I don't know if it's funny to me now as
also
an adult.
Creepy. It's very.
It is creepy. Okay. It's creepy, but it's almost like she's
lighten up, Francis. It's funny. All right, it's funny.
It's funny,
it legitimately is. But
it's funny, but it could have been done better. That's what I'm thinking here.
Oh.
I think it could have been more sneaky.
Like him in the closet or something?
Well, no, but maybe him at the corner of the window. He's like right in the middle of the window. It's not like he's off to the side.
Yeah, that's the whole point of it. That's very John Landis.
It's also National Lampoon.
Yes, and then falling back on the ladder, he's like, "Huh? What?" Like he didn't realize it. Yeah,
that's funny.
Beautiful.
That's funny. But the ladder making all that noise is just, for me, it's like, come on.
I know.
Come on.
And there's no way that he could move that ladder.
And if it's not John Belushi, we would have a problem with this.
Of course
we
would.
Scene.
Of course we would.
I'm just pointing out the mistakes here. I think that are made. You guys think
No, it's very Kentucky Fried Movie over the top.
Yeah,
Little
Right,
not
but this is-
believable. Yes, it's got to suspend
It's-
reality.
it's funny though.
It's not
It's-
Kentucky Fried Movie though. That's the
No,
thing.
but that scene is so 100% Belushi. If you
Mhm.
put anyone else in that scene, it wouldn't fly at all. That is a total Belushi scene.
No, it come off as creepy.
Yeah.
It does come off creepy now a little bit though. It does.
A little
I mean,
bit.
even Eric just
No,
said it does a
it
little bit.
doesn't come
Not
off
a little
creepy.
bit.
No.
Well,
What?
there is
Oh, come
kind
on,
of a
guys,
stigma
gentlemen,
with being a peeping
gentlemen.
Tom.
What do I say makes a movie?
Nudity.
Hardcore nudity.
Thank you. There you go. And you add in John Belushi? Come on. It's classic. The man can do no wrong in that movie. Every mannerism, every facial expression, the lines, he is just gold.
I still think that if you don't show any nudity here, it's even funnier.
See,
And you don't get to see
Belushi.
Babs naked.
Well, no.
Okay,
But okay, that's true. But I'm saying with Belushi, though, you need to kind of see what Belushi sees to understand the facial expressions. I think that is very important.
To a certain extent, but like for instance, and I know you hate this, the edited version only has her getting ready to take off her bra, and as soon as the bra comes off, they don't show any tits or anything like that. That's when he falls back and hits. That's still funny because it's the reaction of Belushi.
I've never seen the edited version of this movie.
Yeah, the edited version has that on it. Yeah, I don't particularly care to watch edited versions of movies, but sometimes they happen. So
When I was little, that's all I knew was the edited version.
the 5-minute movie,
Well, it's not that
the Blazing Saddles 7-minute
bad.
movie.
Yeah, no, it's
Porky's the
not bad.
commercial.
Right.
But, I mean, Bluto does steal every scene that he's in. It's supposed to be like Ted. You said to a certain extent this was his vehicle.
Clearly,
you would argue though that Kenny and Ramus and to a certain extent Landis they thought this was their baby, but then when they released the movie, they realized it's Belushi's.
Well,
But
when they started editing it,
yeah, I mean, you need
when
good writing, of course, but with Belushi, even
When they
bad
saw the
writing is still
dailies.
funny. Yeah.
Yeah, when
I
they
mean, 'cause-
started to see the dailies, they knew what they had.
Because they
I mean-
still were taking a risk here because Belushi had never done a movie. This is Belushi's first movie, of course. Being on TV doesn't always translate to film. I mean, we saw Night of the Roxbury's, right?
That's a
That movie's an
Let's don't even-
abomination.
let's don't
Or
even talk
Superstar.
about that. Another
You know?
ones we don't even. Will Ferrell, I don't even think acknowledges that he was in that movie.
There's a lot of movies out there where
A lot of Saturday Night Live movies that are not
Yeah.
very good.
they're very rare that they actually do well, actually.
Right, which is why attaching National Lampoon to this was a good idea. To the
Right. And then you only wanted one Saturday Night Live guy in there because, like you said, you don't want it to be Saturday Night Live. National Lampoon's was trying to a certain extent, one up Saturday Night Live.
well, yeah, in a way, because if you watch the Lampoon documentary on Netflix, which I highly recommend, at this point in time, they were all starting to age out of doing the magazine.
Yeah.
And this is just before the transition over to like PJ O'Rourke and that next crew that came into the Lampoon that took it over and really injected new blood into the Lampoon. The people who were the creative juice behind the National Lampoon wanted to move into movies because they already really had the TV with Saturday Night Live. You weren't going to replicate Saturday Night Live, even though SCTV in Canada did the best or the closest to it.
It was a case of one-upping each other. National Lampoon's had the radio show, so Saturday Night Live had to do the TV show. And
They
then they
did a
stole
lot of-
everybody.
There was a lot of hand-in-hand type of thing, too. Because you look at some of the writers for Saturday Night Live, like he was the senator from Minnesota.
Al Franken.
Al Franken. Yeah, like he was part of the Lampoon, and it wasn't
So
like a super competition type of a thing where they were pissed off that Lorne Michaels came in and took a bunch of people.
Well, the documentary actually says that Kenny was kind of pissed off by it.
Well, because not everybody got taken. That's where the rub started, was that not everybody was taken and not everybody wanted to go.
And talking about going places, how about a toga party? All-time party scene, it's got to be the toga party, right?
Oh yeah, where
Okay.
they're doing Louie Louie.
Yeah, especially in the early '60s, a toga party is the shit. And how do they get Otis Day and the Nice? Doesn't that seem like an odd band to be at a college?
Well, Otis Day and the Knights were not
It's
real
awesome.
band.
No, they weren't a real band, but I'm just saying the whole similarity of like an all-black band at a college in '62, especially when this band that you're finding out is actually, more like black bars and stuff. How did they book them?
They're just doing gigs. They're probably just a local band that performs here and there. And funny note is the guy who sings, who is Otis Day, Dwayne Jesse. He actually
made a career of it.
He actually had his name legally changed to Otis Day.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so he could, and then recorded as Otis Day and the Knights. But I mean, I remember even in the 90s going to bars like, I went to this 50s, 60s, 70s bar called Jukebox Saturday Night that they did the song Shout.
Everyone played it.
Oh, yeah.
It was
a big wedding song.
And I don't know if it's a big bar song anymore because, I don't go to bars now in the 2020s like I did in the 1990s. But back then, everybody was still doing Animal House stuff. In fact, when I did my radio show in the 90s, I actually played a lot of clips from this movie on the radio.
Funny part about the toga party is Otter and Dean Wormer's wife.
So I don't know if that's funny until she's actually back home with Dean Warner. That's improvised, by the way, that scene, because they said that the writing for that was crap. So they just let her laugh and giggle and throw her feet over.
The seduction scene, or the one where she's in the bed with her husband?
When the bed and the husband. That's all.
My fault, Carmine.
Improvised.
Could it be my fault? Yes, it's.
The dialogue they said was shit, so they just let her do whatever she wanted to do.
I think that's a great scene with him molesting the dean's wife, because it just shows the depravity of this,
and that they don't care.
They don't care, and they use it. And they use it like in their little trial thing,
Mm-hmm. The little wink. Yeah,
the wink.
I like it. I like it in the supermarket. I think the supermarket is funny with the cucumber. My cucumber's bigger. You still want to show me your cucumber?
No, people are sensual.
And the trial scene, it's...
Shut up, you assholes.
Yeah. Tell us assholes to shut up. Shut up, you assholes. The writing in this movie, I mean, you've got, obviously, we know it's Belushi's movie, but the supporting cast in this movie, I think we can all agree, is right on par with Belushi. And you have a bunch of no-names, a lot of no-name people that just do an incredible job. I mean, Tim Matheson, this made his career. Tim Matheson worked hard on this one.
Karen Black went on to do Indiana Jones. Karen Allen's son. Karen Allen went on to
play. Was in the airport movies.
So her career took off. Kevin Bacon, of course. We talked about 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon.
This is where it all begins.
This is all where it begins. I think he also ended up doing Friday the 13th. I think was one of the first movies that he did. A lot of these people's careers have a very long career. I mean, the guy who plays D-Day,
Bruce McGill.
He's become a great character actor. He plays the boxing promoter in Cinderella Man.
He's passed away now, though, too, hasn't he?
No, he's still around. Still alive. That's why I'm saying we should do the Live or Dead. Yeah, Elvis, Live or Dead. The one that has passed away is Stephen Furst. He passed away back in 2017. Thomas Hulse. He went on to be nominated for
Academy Award.
Amadeus.
Award for Amadeus.
And didn't do much after that.
He does behind the scenes more now. He's more of a director, and I think he does a lot more stage stuff now.
But I mean, going from winning the Academy Award for Amadeus, you would think that would be just,
Well, he didn't win. He was just
nominated. But I mean, that movie was Amadeus is one of those incredible movies.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, but I think with him, awesome. I think what he preferred to do was stage. People have a love for theater. You look at someone like a Matthew Broderick, who is great in the 80s, but he loves the theater. He prefers the theater.
He's
If
incredible in the
memory
theater.
serves me correct, I believe Thomas Hulse played Amadeus on Broadway
Or on ice.
before they did the
Hitler
movie.
on ice.
Mhm.
I don't see that he
Springtime
did
for Hitler.
Amadeus on Broadway.
What about
I
Amadeus
thought
on ice? No.
I thought he did it in the
He did A Few Good Men, Hamlet, Cider House Rules, but he's become a big producer, director in that particular area. So not much of it as an actor, but more of a director.
You know, it's one of those movies, not to get off topic, but I'll do it briefly. Amadeus is an incredible movie, but it's one of those movies I think that gets kind of lost in history of incredible movies. You know, you always hear people talk like Schindler's List, for example.
Right.
Schindler's List. It's a travesty. It's just such a great movie. But you don't usually hear people talk about an Amadeus.
right.
I think most movies that are based on like a biography of somebody usually die out pretty quick.
Yeah.
Capote was big at one time.
Ray was a big movie.
Ray was a big movie. Yeah, it just happens. You know,
but everyone talks about Animal House.
Exactly.
Yeah, everybody talks about Animal House.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing about the party, probably my first or second favorite scene, because I did say I really enjoyed, of course, the food fight. Charming's guitar being smashed.
Yes.
Oh, that's another classic scene.
Again, improvised.
Didn't know he was going to take the guitar, did he? No idea.
John Belushi just took it and smashed it, and all the reaction is legit as
Beautiful.
it was when he did the Zit part.
Yes. Beautiful.
And you know what? That's a typical party. When I went to parties, there was always one guy in a corner playing a guitar or some kind of instrument, and you had 4 or 5 people surrounding him. It was weird.
I can honestly say I never went to a party where anyone was playing guitar.
Yeah, me neither.
No.
I went to a number of parties where
kidding.
that was. Yeah.
And all the women were just flocking to the guy?
I would say they were flocking. I like to think of them as being maybe a little bit higher than everybody else.
Pretentious? Or are we talking drug high?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't we remember when we did the one-on-one movie with Robbie Benson?
The Hall & Oates story? Yeah, it's great.
The Hall & Oates, yeah.
Yeah.
And there was that one section where a guy was playing the guitar in that movie.
That was part of the after-school special part.
Yeah. It happens.
It does.
Well, when I went to parties, you always had the one guy that knew everything about music. He was like the music expert.
That was you, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't me, because I couldn't play a musical instrument.
Oh, so he knew everything about, like, he could read music and play music and...
Yeah, right.
Yes.
And then he had his opinion about other musicians and things of that nature. So, yeah, there was a lot of, especially if that was that person's house. You know, if that person was musically inclined and he had a party going on.
Yes.
But yeah, that scene where he just smashes the wall. In fact, they say that's the only part of the set that actually got damaged. Everything else was fine. Nobody, ruined anything on the set.
You mean like the guitar or the wall?
The guitar.
The guitar, okay. The guitar or the wall got ruined?
Both of them.
Okay.
They actually put a plaque around the area where the guitar, hit. That house, of course, is now torn down. It's now some type of like foot therapy place or something like that.
Bullshit.
That's horrible.
They have a little monument that said that this is where Animal House was filmed. Sets like that should be preserved. What is you have your state preservation or town preservation. That should have been preserved.
Yeah.
And of course, the creepy scene with the 13-year-old getting her drunk and taking her back, and she passes out.
Well, we don't know that she's 13.
He doesn't know she's 13, so let's give him the benefit of the doubt at this point. Actually, he doesn't know she's 13 until right before.
On the football field.
Yeah, on the football field. So
yeah.
And she doesn't look 13, let's be honest.
Oh,
okay.
no.
But
God, no.
but she tells him she's 13 on the football field. They still do it.
Yeah, and she, because you got to marry her right now, right?
This is the boy that molested me.
We got to get married. And the funny thing is, when she gets to the party, she's like, "Oh, I got a lot of catching up to do."
Right.
Like how she's got the tissues.
She gets
She got
around.
the tissues, and I brought. But the funny thing is, she doesn't need the tissues. When
No,
we see the
because
bra
she's
come
not
off,
13 years old.
She ain't
because she
13.
doesn't look 13. Yeah, she ain't no 13. If you're going to play off something that's 13, that's definitely National Lampoon right there. That is,
Of course it is.
that is pushing the envelope to the extreme. I mean, to be honest, I'm surprised that they kept the 13 in. I'm really surprised they were able to get away with that.
Or how about the other scene where she's like, Daddy, this is the boy who molested me. We have to get married.
Right.
That's even pushing it farther. Because now you know what the result is.
They've tripled down on the
She's
joke.
pregnant and 13. We're Jerry Lee Lewis territory here.
Yeah, we've
But
tripled
not
down on the
enough
joke.
time has gone by for that all to have happened.
No, it
So,
hasn't. I don't know.
I mean, at least make her 16 because he's probably only 18. He's a freshman. So
Maybe,
he's
maybe,
18,
yeah,
19.
maybe 15 at the low end. 13, you're like, that's a little creepy.
That's junior high school still. Come on.
It's totally National Lampoon.
Totally is. Yes,
And
sir.
The most iconic cover in National Lampoon history was a picture of the dog with the gun pointed to its head saying, buy this magazine or we're going to kill the dog.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, but I think the 13-year-old is going a little bit beyond that cover there.
they pushed the envelope all the way.
We have little time and still a lot to cover because we have still not talked about they get their charter taken away from them. And all the booze and everything is
the kangaroo
gone.
court. They lose it. Yep.
The bar.
And they have to go. So they have to go on a
bar.
Let me ask
a,
this though. Okay, so they lose the house. All right.
Well, they haven't lost the house. They have just lost
their charter.
Their charter.
But they were taking everything out of the house, even the stuff they didn't steal.
They felt like they had to take everything out because they didn't know what really belonged to them.
But then there's a scene where what's his name gets beat up, and Bluto has his famous the Germans and Pearl Harbor. Yes.
Was it over?
There's still furniture in the house. They're all sitting on it.
I don't think they got rid of the furniture per se. I think they got rid of things like the bar or anything that looked
the cow.
Yeah,
that's funny. The mermaid.
Yeah,
the mermaid with the fish and where the breasts are supposed to be. Everybody in college had that poster of Bluto with college.
Yes.
Written across
Oh yeah.
his chest.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Very popular.
Everybody had that poster.
By the way, when Bluto's drinking the Jack Daniels, it's actually iced tea.
Of course.
Yeah. So there's
no way.
There is no way you could do Jack like that. Trust me.
Even Belushi.
Even
Belushi.
Yes.
I did a half a bottle of Jack like that.
I don't know how.
But I had a lot of ice cream before that, so somebody thought that it might have protected my stomach.
I see.
Or your throat.
That burns.
Yeah.
Not to kill you.
I was able to drink a lot when I was younger.
Ken had a little bit of a drinking problem when he was younger.
Kind of like an airplane.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Start throwing orange juice in your face.
Yeah, let's don't even start to talk about that. Of everything, that's probably the most iconic picture to come out of this movie.
Is it just me, or do we just not like Flounder at all? He's the one character in this whole movie that I really
You're not supposed to like him.
I don't know. I think you're supposed to root for him at the end because he's the one that got shit in his face. He's the one that Niedermeyer just went after and abused.
Yeah, you're supposed to, but you're right. Of all the characters, he is probably the one that you least like.
I mean, if he was just taken out of the whole movie, it wouldn't make a difference.
How would they get the car for the end?
They could just have any character have a car in that situation. You could have Larry Pinto could have a car from his brother, and it would work out the same freaking way. Flounder, just to me, unfortunately, is the one character that just doesn't work for me.
And are we all in agreement that Otter took his date from him, his steady girl?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Oh yeah. Of course he did.
He never saw her again.
No.
She went up to his room and never came back.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
He
Otter.
totally did.
Yeah.
And I can't believe Flounder has a girlfriend like that to begin with.
Yeah.
Was she a Mormon or something? I mean, how did he like pull this one off? I mean, come on. Of course, they get everything taken from them, so they have to go.
Road trip.
They have
Road trip.
Road trip.
Road trip. Yep.
Another situation where National Lampoons takes
Oh,
a
yes, he
situation,
loves us.
Yes.
a situation where a woman dies, and they use a woman's death
Beautiful.
to get dates.
Beautiful.
So hilarious.
It is. It is. I kill an accent. She's gonna make me a pot. And Otter pulls it off so well.
Yeah, he's
so
such a scumbag.
well. He is. He is
He's
such a scumbag. He's
Well, what about the roommate? The roommate almost is playing it off like she just wants to get some. It
pretty
seems
much.
like.
Yeah. She figures it out.
I'm sure she has to.
She
Fawn.
has to know
Yeah.
at the beginning.
Yeah.
She
Or
figures it out.
she's the one that's putting the moves on him in
Yeah.
the car,
Yeah.
not the other way around.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
You gotta love the bar scene where they're just all there and they're just out of place.
Oh, it's
Saying it lightly. Very out of place. And of course, Flounder, what college do you go to? You know, he just asks these
Right.
stupid things.
That's the kind of lines and why I can't stand this character.
Yeah.
There's nothing likable about this guy. You almost wish that Nina Meyer did kill him with that gun at the end of the movie.
wow. Good lord.
Wow.
That's dark, but okay.
Well, it's been a great ending.
And, screwing a 13-year-old is not dark, and Nina Meyer
No.
not being killed by his own troops at the end of the movie. is
That
not
makes
dark.
sense, though.
That made perfect sense.
Yeah.
You almost expect that.
Well, I expected Nina Meyer and the horse to get it on, so that's what I expected with
He
that.
he did love
that
that
carrot.
horse.
He did
Did
love
he
that
do-
horse.
horse.
Can we dance with your dates? Sure.
If I were in your shoes, I'd be. Yes.
Yeah, go in. Yeah. What a
This-
great idea.
we could spend this whole podcast just quoting lines from this movie. I mean, it is just that much of great of a movie. I think we're all going to give this a phenomenal review. I'm pretty confident of that.
Oh,
But we should probably still keep rolling.
Last thing about this middle section that we haven't really talked about, and we talked maybe a little bit, was the Donald Sutherland part. He does play the professor.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like a throwaway part, even though he's a big name, but it doesn't do much for me in this particular movie.
Him having a gift with Katie, it's almost expected because she speaks
Mhm.
so highly of him
Mhm.
early
Yeah.
on. You almost could feel the setup.
I didn't need to see his butt, though. I mean, we do see a lot of butts in this movie, that's for sure, don't we? I guess Karen Allen is supposed to show her butt, but she didn't want to do it, so Donald Sutherland goes, I'll do it, don't worry. Donald Sutherland, he liked being on the set, but I think the character itself, it could have been anybody. I don't know if you really needed a name here. I think you could have just got done with just John Belushi's name on itself. Does Donald Sutherland comedy speak loudly to you?
Let's talk about
if it-
MASH.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
it's-
That's 8 years earlier.
I just don't see what he brings to the table in this particular movie.
I think he has the look of a college professor,
Mhm.
especially in that era. And
Totally.
I love the scene where they're lighting up the weed, and he's got those devil eyes when they turn the candle on. He's just got that
Mhm.
look about him that you're like, yeah,
Can I
let's
buy
party.
some pot from you?
Yeah, right, exactly. Let's
Yeah.
party. He definitely has that professor look. When he's talking about Milton,
Oh, yeah.
Paradise
Yes,
Lost and
yes.
stuff. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
that's great.
When they get high, they talk about the atoms in your finger being a universe and stuff
Right,
like that.
right.
In those conversations, too, where people are drunk and high and stuff, and they're just talking nonsense. Yeah,
And you're
it's
listening
just
because you want to
crazy.
get more weed. That's the only reason why you're listening to him. Like,
Actually,
yeah,
I'm listening to him
man.
because there's usually a cute girl there that I'm trying to hook up with. So
I
that's
see.
why I'm there.
And did you have a devil on one side and an angel on the
Yes,
other?
the angel won all
For sure,
the time.
man.
Yep, the angel won every single time. Finish us off there with the landing
We,
there, Eric.
we are going to stick this landing. That is a given. Due to the Delta's dismal midterm grades, Wormer expels them all from Faber and gleefully tells them that he has notified their local draft boards that they are eligible for military service. Otter and Bluto rally the Deltas to seek revenge during the annual homecoming parade. D-Day converts Fred's Lincoln into the Deathmobile, an armored vehicle concealed inside a cake-shaped breakaway float. Eat me.
Eat me.
Eat me. And the Deltas wreak havoc during the parade. It culminates in the Deathmobile ramming the reviewing stand, tossing Marmalade, Wormer, DePasto, and the latter's wives into the air. It's a great scene, too. As chaos reigns on the streets, the futures of several characters are revealed. Many Deltas achieve unexpected success, with Bluto becoming a United States Senator and marrying Mandy, while most of the Omegas have less fortunate outcomes, such as Niedermeyer ending up killed by his own troops during the Vietnam War. Oh, classic stuff there.
I thought Mandy would have ended up with Tim Matheson's character.
Yes.
Because they were like on and
But
off
that's
again
who-
throughout the
Yeah,
whole movie.
Yeah. Of course, Bluto ends up with Babs.
Yes.
Or not with Babs, but yeah. He has to. That's the chick that he wanted to see and
Underneath
he
the
was looking in
bleachers and stuff, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well,
So-
that's the one through the window.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Greg doesn't believe in premarital sex. Yes.
By the way, the lucky boy who wishes for a playmate to magically appear
Yes.
and comes true, he became a pastor of a local church in Cottage Grove, Oregon.
Well. That's
Thank you, God.
Thank you, God. Yes, I'll bet you he never hears the end of that one, huh?
That's another National Lampoon.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's another.
The
huge-
newspaper headline in Oregon paper said, "Lucky boy still thinking God."
Mhm. Yes. I mean, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but this is one of the first times I remember a movie having updates as to what happened to the characters.
Yeah,
the end.
yeah. I think you're right there. That's pretty
Yeah.
revolutionary. You didn't really see that in prior movies.
Right. And the end of this movie is freaking insane.
It's out of control. It goes in so many directions. I think it's stupid, but it's funny. Where Stork takes over the marching band and marches them into
Yes.
an alley, and of course they just follow blindly into the wall.
It is.
It is.
It's absolutely hilarious,
It is.
and then that's just one. That's
Flounder,
just one
can I
thing.
have 10,000 marbles, please? I mean, yeah,
Yes.
all the stupid lines. You're right, Ken. All the stupid lines.
You know, the person who sells him the marbles is actually his wife in real life. Which
Oh,
is
really? Okay.
interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But the marching band thing, I think is funny at first, but then when you show him still stuck later on, that's
Makes
kind
it
of
even. That's kind of funny though too.
I don't know if it's funny. I think that is just
yeah, it
stupid.
is. Trust me, it is.
Then
Trust me,
you're
it
just
is.
saying the marching band people are just morons in general.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying, Ken.
Wow. So all those people that have been in marching bands that are listening to this podcast, this is all on Ted.
All right. Sheep to the slaughter.
Exactly, Eric.
Yeah,
You must know somebody in a marching band that you don't particularly care for.
apparently.
Anyway,
I had a lot of friends in marching band.
It's just those weird little idiosyncrasies of the movie in the end there that kind of make it, throwing marbles out, the smoke, the Deathmobile. I mean,
they'll come back later. I'm doing the dishes.
yes.
Eat me. I love the fact that it
Look
says
at my
eat
finger. Gee, you're dumb. My favorite's like,
Me. Oh my god.
you can
It's
take
actually, look at my thumb. Gee, you're dumb.
You can take your thumb out of my ass anytime.
It's awesome. There's no other way to sum it up. It's just it's chaos.
I like Hoover. He's just like, I know this might be the wrong time to ask,
Right.
but do you think you could just give us one more chance?
Yes. One more
That's
chance.
probably his best line in the whole movie.
Yes.
You know, his character is okay, but I think that line is pretty funny.
Yeah, that's a good line. And here again, you have to love John Belushi
Dress it up as a pirate.
as a pirate.
As a pirate.
And
And
it's
how
just,
about him scaling those ladders
Yes.
up on the roof, huh?
that was legitimately him.
So those little
And that's-
chocolate donuts. So
Yeah.
I mean, because that's legitimately him in Blues Brothers when he cartwheels
Yeah.
down the and
John
everything.
Belushi as Errol Flynn.
yes,
Yeah,
right,
exactly. He is
Yes. Now
So
that
amazing.
wasn't him though when he was jumped off the building on the banner.
Oh
and ripped
no,
the banner.
No.
No.
That's
the insurance company would not allow that.
No.
to happen.
There wasn't enough coke running around the set to make that happen.
that would be him like jumping off the building thinking he could fly. So,
yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
I think it would have been funnier if they would have had Boone and Katie like married, divorced, married, divorced again or something, just doing it once. It was just like, It was the least funniest one out of all the.
You knew you're like married, divorced. Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Fun fact for you guys before we get to our final ratings here. They actually tried to do a TV spin-off
yes,
of this
they did.
One season.
Oh, my goodness.
I actually watched the pilot to it yesterday. And the laugh track, first of all, is the worst laugh track I've ever heard.
Oh, I got to watch this then.
So basically, they got 4 people returning back to do this show. Stephen First come back as Flounder. They had Bruce Miguel come back as D-Day. They had James Widows coming back as Hoover. And then they had the Dean come back.
John Vernon.
So, who was also in the movie I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker, as Mr. Big. Because you can't have swearing or nudity or all this other stuff on TV, it becomes slapstick. And
with a
of
really
course
bad laugh track.
And a really bad laugh track.
And of course, was that like 81, 82?
I want to say that actually was 80.
70s? Yeah, 80.
I want to say 80. I will find out for you before we get off of this.
Where did you find that? YouTube? Was that a YouTube watch?
Yeah, it was a YouTube watch. Debuted on February 4th of 1979.
Oh, they were really jumping on the bandwagon.
Yeah, they I guess they just did the pilot and they canceled it before the series.
That bad.
Before I guess there's more episodes out there, but they never aired them.
And can you attest? Is it really, really bad? Is it even remotely funny?
The pilot is horrible.
Okay,
it's horrible. It basically starts off with the Dean basically saying the same stuff that he says at the beginning of this movie about one more thing to get him, expelled out of college. It almost is like the events of the original movie didn't happen.
Ooh.
If you want to watch it just to say you watched it, go for it. But in general, it's pretty bad.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, shall we talk about how we enjoyed this movie?
Sure.
No.
I think I know what direction we're going to go here. I'm pretty confident on some ratings here. Ken's a wild card. Let's kick it off with Ted.
This movie's 5.
Yes.
This is 5 hooks.
What a shock.
What a shock. If I could go more, I would give it more. This is perfect comedy for me. I mean, it's irreverent. It's raunchy. It's everything. It has everything that I look for in a comedy. And of course, the fact that John Belushi's in it is the cherry on top that makes this whole thing just perfect. This is as close to a perfect comedy as that's ever been made.
Can't argue with there. It's a 5 for me too. It is one of my favorite, if not the favorite comedy of all time. This is the type of movie, when it's on, I watch the whole thing through. Wherever it stops and starts, I can't turn it off, and I'm sitting here quoting it and quoting it and quoting it. It's a 5. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Ken, I'm going to make a prediction, Ken. Do you have a piece of paper there?
No, I don't.
You suck. Okay.
But make a prediction. I'll be honest with you.
This doesn't play well, obviously, on audio, obviously. I was going to have you write down a number and see if I could match it. I'm going to say for you, Ken, this is a 4.
This is a tad above a 4. I'm going to give it 4.25.
Okay, good.
So the reason why I'm giving 4.25 is just for the reasons I kind of stated during the
Flounder.
podcast.
You lose 3/4 for Flounder.
Almost by itself. Flounder is the one character that he annoys me when he's on the screen. He's supposed to be a sympathetic character. He doesn't come across being sympathetic at all. I think they kept him being the same character throughout. There was no growth in this character, whereas, like, at least with Pinto, he starts off being a coward and stuff like that, but I feel like he grows and becomes a stronger character as the movie goes on.
Child molester?
Outside being a child molester, I guess. But
He's growing.
Flounder is annoying from beginning to end, doesn't learn by his mistakes. He's no better than he was at the beginning of this movie. For me, he's just a wasted character.
He is no better. You're right. And then his outcome what is he? Is a emotional therapist or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's exactly what you would expect.
His character definitely needed therapy. Basically, that's probably the main reason why I take it down a notch a little bit. All the other characters, except for maybe I'm not the biggest fan of the professor, but he isn't bad either. He's just kind of there. I'm okay with him either way. But everybody else is perfectly placed in this movie. It's a great casting job. Landis did a great job of directing this. When they made this film, Kenny and Harold Ramis and the other writer, they would make drafts, and then they would give each other the drafts, and each one would rework each other's writings. It was a collaboration like no other. To get this many people working together to come with it happens again in 1984 with the movie Ghostbusters. 4.25 hooks for me.
Okay, great. Well, we are all on mostly the same page. Here is a phenomenal comedy. So if you are listening to this and you have not seen this movie, hopefully our high recommendation will have you go out there and rent it, stream it. I know people don't rent stuff anymore. Stream it, steal it. I don't know. Just go out there and watch it. And we're going to continue our anniversary here with...
What? Over? Did you say over? Nothing's over until we decide it is. Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? Hell no!
Germans? Forget it, he's rolling. Very spontaneous, Ted. Very spontaneous.
Yeah, that wasn't set up at all.
No, not at all. So we are going to continue school. College is the theme, but this college movie is celebrating 40 years, right, Ken?
Yes, we'll be reviewing the movie Revenge of the Nerds.
So more TNA, my friends. More TNA.
Ted doesn't like this movie, so we'll find out how badly he doesn't like this movie.
We'll see if it...
But he likes Teen Wolf. So
hey, man, it's not Nerds in Paradise.
That's true.
Oh.
Or Nerds in Love.
It's not Porky's, though, either.
There's actually 4 of them.
Oh, my goodness.
So.
Nerds in Love.
Yep.
It's
Booger gets married in the first.
Oh, my goodness. No, let's... I will say... I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
See you at the movies.
See you next time on Hooked on Movies.